Story 1. Worse than death is waking up every day in a life you no longer recognize, trapped in a loop of going through the motions while your soul quietly decays. It's sitting in a room full of people and feeling utterly alone. It's watching everything you love slip through your fingers while you smile as if nothing is wrong. It's being alive but already forgotten. Story 2. Worse than being dead is being the last one alive. Imagine it like being the last one picked up at summer camp. All your friends are gone, and everywhere you look are things that used to be fun. Now, sitting there by yourself, it's all just sad reminders of the past. Story 3. Caring for someone you love as they succumb to glioblastoma is an incredibly painful experience. Story 4. Being forced into a near-unconscious state allows you to perceive everything happening around you, but you are unable to verbally or cognitively respond to any stimuli. There was a story of a man in such a state in a hospital where his television often played reruns of a children's show, which was exactly what brought him back to a level of consciousness, purely out of spite. Story 5. Holding your newborn baby while she spends her last hours in pain, knowing there is nothing you can do to save her. Story 6. The idea of being fully aware but unable to communicate or move seems like one of the most terrifying experiences a person could endure. It is known as locked-in syndrome, which occurs when someone's body is paralyzed, but their mind is completely intact. Imagine being trapped in your own body, knowing everything around you but being unable to speak or express yourself. I cannot even begin to imagine how isolating that would be. Story 7. I think post-traumatic stress disorder is worse than death. There are very few moments of peace. My brother was a sniper in the Marines. He lost his legs during his first deployment. The trauma won out 3 years later. I don't even want to know what he experienced mentally. Story 8. Like 50 Cent said, death gotta be easy because life is hard. It will leave you physically, mentally, and emotionally scarred. Story 9. Slowly fading, relying on others for food, cleaning, and care. Year after year. Story 10. Immortality is not real. Stranded in space? Enjoy suffocating and freezing for an unknown period. Story 11. Having to see a doctor because your genitalia is stuck in a 10-pound barbell weight and the erection will not subside. Being addicted to substances. Having to sever ties with your family over trivial matters such as sexual orientation, politics, or religion. Story 12. Having sharp pain that never goes away makes every moment last longer. And in this case, it is not a good thing, especially when you are a smoker, as smoking makes the pain worse. Story 13. Opening my phone every day, turning my TV on, turning my iPad on, and my computer on to see a person with a yellow head shouting. Story 14. Grief after a suicide is a constant guessing game of what you could have done wrong, especially if you were unaware of their struggles. Story 15. Whatever the simulation of my life could be called. No formal education completed. No family. No friends. Mental illness. No dreams. No prospects. No home. No belongings. I cannot roam freely due to diabetes and hypothyroidism, which tether me to a pharmacy each month. If I can save 3 people from ending up like me, I would consider that a life well lived. Story 16. Being drawn and quartered happened to an ancestor of mine, which is why my family came to the New World. Story 17. Undergoing surgery while the anesthesia fails to take effect, leaving you feeling everything and completely unable to move or speak. Story 18. Using worst instead of worse. Living with guilt over something you could have stopped, but despite good intentions, you failed, leading to misery for those you love. Story 19. Being told that pharmaceutical drugs are beneficial for 3 decades, quitting them, and quickly recognizing the political games in the United States led to doubt about one's faith. A year later, one was forcibly injected with a month's worth of sleep medication, which they had become addicted to, under the impression they received the COVID vaccine for a week due to sleep deprivation, only to be charged $95,000 for the experience with health insurance while earning only $6,000 a year. I am doing significantly better now in many ways and have quit again, but I still feel a bit shaken from time to time. My main goal is to ensure that I do not create a toxic environment for others and to be kind whenever I can. Story 20. The place the spiritually dead must all go is an eternity without light and love, absent of all that is good, a place of hopelessness and despair. It is silent destruction filled with weeping or the grinding and gnashing of teeth of a soul whose rage is all that is left. He knows his unrest is his own fault and cannot blame even the God he does not know. He should have done right in his life but chose to do what he knew was immoral and evil. Therefore, demons of regret and torment torture him forever, except when he drinks himself into oblivion, where he momentarily finds peace, which evaporates like a drop of water on a hot coal, only for the coal to burn deeper into his rotting flesh, devoid of life. Although he still wanders in earth that has wholly forgotten their Lord and God. But thanks be to Jesus Christ, who came to reveal our sinfulness and error, so that in believing in him, we might see what is good and holy and turn from our wicked ways, being saved by his grace and tender mercy. He pours his love abundantly upon those he loves to empower them to become new creations. A person born again 1,000 times over transforms into a liquid spirit, no longer weighed down by the flesh and its curse upon the soul. They are freed from prison and enslavement to forces that serve no one and only wish to destroy all life, allowing them to freely walk the righteous path, leading to the salvaging of their soul and saving them from that wretched place to which so many mortals go. Do not be naive to think hell is only waiting for you after your physical death. If you are not alive to God, then hell will be your environment sooner than you realize. Furthermore, do not embrace artificial augmentation, for it may lead you to live eternally in a state where you wish for death but cannot find it. You may appear to be living, but inside your being is corrupted or gone. You will become a hollow shell of a ghost long gone. Repent and turn to Jesus Christ. I apologize if this scares you, but let it make you consider and take action. Put your trust in him completely. Story 21. There is a process of torture called excruciation that I read about in the Night Lord series from Warhammer 40,000 by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. Although it is not fully described in terms of a set process, it stands out to me as something that would be worse than death, even though the subject of the torture is inevitably killed at the end. The actions I remember being performed include flaying while alive, breaking individual bones, and sending pain signals through every nerve ending in the body using special machinery. Story 22. At 42 years old, I ruined a perfectly fine relationship by playing video games and became overweight and lazy. Sometimes I realize what I did, but then I hear the beep, and I feel fine again. Story 23. The plastic chair at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles is absolutely packed, elbow to elbow, and smells unpleasant. It just started to rain outside, causing the lights to flicker, and you worry about losing power and having to start all over again another day. Story 24. Having a target on your back means never being able to sleep without worrying that someone will find you and kill you. You are always hiding and running. There is no life, no family because they could be killed. You can't communicate with anyone for fear that they might be monitored. You are always in fear because if you slow down or stop, you are dead. I believe that would be worse than being dead. I have seen some movies like this and I was thinking the same way. Story 25. For me, any serious medical issues that affect the brain are concerning. I do not want to lose my ability to think coherently. Story 26. Bipolarity can be challenging, as individuals may feel immense frustration during manic episodes and profound guilt during depressive periods. The feelings of guilt and shame can be overwhelming, and unfortunately, many struggle to reach old age. Story 27. Prion diseases like Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease and Kuru, as well as sleeping sickness, essentially any of the highly exotic incurable diseases or neglected tropical diseases, sound absolutely miserable. Smallpox, back when it existed, is also unsettling. Story 28. Being in solitary confinement means having no human contact for the rest of your life, except perhaps seeing a guard when you need to move cells. Story 29. Being fully immortal could initially seem fun, as it allows for the prospect of living for hundreds of thousands of years. However, it can be very challenging mentally. Story 30. Depends for the family missing. For a person, I would personally say organ failure, particularly of the liver. Itching nonstop while being severely ill for months or even years. Even if you receive a transplant, there is the risk of rejection and survivor's guilt. Story 31. Physical pain, whether it is intense or a constant dull ache, is difficult to bear. The absence of love since birth can also be deeply painful. In comparison, being dead may feel like a peaceful release from such suffering. Story 32. Fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva is a complicated condition that progressively transforms your tissues, joints, ligaments, muscles, and tendons into bone. It is somewhat similar to locked-in syndrome. However, there is no known cure, and individuals remain fully aware of their condition as it progresses. In my opinion, this is slightly worse than locked-in syndrome, primarily because it is inevitable and the person experiences awareness of the changes occurring. Story 33. Cognitive decline, such as dementia or Alzheimer's disease, can result in leaving this world without remembering the people and things you loved the most. This is truly heartbreaking. Story 34. Living the same experience repeatedly without the ability to stop, it was the most terrifying thing ever during my 9-gram mushroom trip. Story 35. For me, it was my family helping my estranged spouse kidnap our children and getting them out of state, leading to their disappearance for 4 months without a trace. I still face parental alienation and wish my ex had simply gone through with their intentions. That has to be less painful than this. Story 36. Watching all your cherished beliefs dismantled or destroyed by oppressive forces, while feeling powerless to stop them, is heartbreaking. Watching your idealism fade away, tears at the heart. What do you have left when hope disappears? Story 37. Being skinless, covered in burns and missing your eyelids while being rolled around on a hot metal plate coated in lemon juice under the bright sun in the Mojave Desert. Story 38. Being almost dead, but not completely. It's like losing just enough blood to stay alive and having to endure that for an entire month. Story 39. Depression is so much worse than death that many end their lives because the thought of death brings a sense of peace that is hard to describe. I have yet to experience that kind of peace in any other circumstances or for any other reason than the simple thought of dying, due to the pain of being alive and feeling trapped in the depths of your own distressed mind. Story 40. Ask yourself, if you could choose to never have been born, would you say yes? If so, then life is worse, and I personally would have said yes. However, since I am already here and experience emotions as motivators, it feels as though I have no choice. Story 41. Being reanimated as essentially a brain in a jar and forced into simulations where you live out lives full of suffering repeatedly for the rest of time serves the purpose of borrowing your creative consciousness to the artificial intelligence that has reanimated you while you sleep in the simulations. Story 42. Witnessing that simply your existence contradicts your goals and being kept alive can be challenging. For example, being maintained in life while your existence works against your aspirations can be painful. A poor family may strive to keep you alive despite you being in a vegetative state, wishing them well while they starve themselves to support you. This situation can feel like a form of servitude, especially when you wish for the demise of those who have caused you immense suffering, such as those responsible for harming your family and forcing you into a state of enslavement. Story 43. What happened to one of the characters at the end of the series Alias? He finally gains the immortal life he was seeking through mythical artifacts, but then he gets trapped under a boulder at the bottom of a pit. Story 44. Getting lost in a negative mindset without any hope of overcoming it while being aware of the struggle. Story 45. Hunger. Not the casual hunger of wanting a snack, but the intense hunger that makes you feel like you are going crazy. Story 46. I'm pretty sure my dog will eat me before anyone realizes I am gone. Specifically my daughters who live about half a mile away with their mother. I am fine with the dog eating me if he has to. Story 47. Being in the process of dying, especially due to an overdose. Locked-in syndrome. Living with severe mental and physical health issues. Addiction. Story 48. Being completely covered in a rancid cosmic mixture with the consistency of thick, creamy peanut butter. The mixture is then fed on by smaller parasites that gnaw on your flesh. At first, it is nothing more than a slight pinching sensation. Over time, however, they begin to burrow in like worms into the dirt. The blood thickens into black pus around the opening that is now infected and swollen. As you lie paralyzed, They continue to burrow deep into the tiny cavities of your being like rotting Swiss cheese. You can feel them crawl under your skin, consuming the fat and muscle tissue as you try to move awkwardly and sluggishly in a desperate attempt to get them off you. They have no eyes, only worm-like bodies, thorn tendrils whipping about, and small rotating jagged teeth, buzz-sawing through your insides. You can feel the itching deep in the nerves as they glide along your limbs in an upward motion towards your brain. Your vision blurs slightly as one wraps itself around the back of your visual cortex, and your eyeball pulsates. You can feel them throughout your entire being. You try to scream, but the words cannot make any sound at all. Still, your attempts feel like screaming into the void, met only with silence. Until your tongue swells, there is constant pressure as these creatures weave in and out of your gums, pushing up at the roots of your teeth. This goes on for what feels like an eternity. You lose the ability to even make a fist. You try to blink, but even that has become difficult now. It has been several months already. You feel unable to cry as the holes are replaced with bubbling pods filled with a corrosive substance that burns you when they erupt. Then there is silence. You begin to wonder if you can finally be put out of your misery or sleep. Your spine snaps at multiple points like a twig, bending you over backwards. Your head painfully rotates around completely, causing your eyes to bulge out. Then, insectoid limbs sprout from the spaces between your broken rib cage. Your head tilts back from your distorted neck, and that feeling of immense itching returns as you begin to crawl forward. You stop at a glass wall. The mandibles protruding from your skull now sense the glass surrounding you. You still have enough consciousness to wonder, somehow able to witness everything around you in painful detail. It is at this moment you realize you have been kept alive as an experiment indefinitely. Story 49. Alzheimer's. Slowly forgetting everyone and everything you know until eventually, if you last long enough, you forget how to swallow. My dad passed away from this in November 2023. It was the worst thing I have ever been through. I can't imagine what it was like for him. I was lucky. He didn't forget me. His last spoken word was my name, and the last thing he heard from me was, "Love you, Dad. See you in the morning." He didn't make it through the night. Seeing my tough-as-nails rugby player father, all skin and bones, curled up and moaning is something I don't think I will ever get over. Story 50. Losing everything that makes life meaningful. Imagine someone who has lost their memories, their loved ones, and their ability to experience joy, yet they are still alive. Some might say that is worse than death. Story 51. Cartel torture. I regret looking into it recently, but there are some truly creative sadists. Story 52. Locked-in syndrome. Going blind. Being tortured eternally. In my mind, being forgotten by all. Nobody recognizes you. No family recognizes you. Nobody. Story 53. You and your little dog are living your best life of freedom and adventure by hopping trains, with your dog sleeping in your backpack. One day you fall off the train, and your legs are severely injured. You land on your backpack, and your little dog is crushed and dies. You lay there bleeding for at least 12 hours before another train passes by and the crew alerts authorities after they see your injured condition. A police officer arrives and, by some miracle involving a helicopter and additional trains, helps transport you. They find your lower legs and feet nearby, but unfortunately you do not survive. Story 54. Dementia. My mom has frontotemporal dementia. She is still alive, but she isn't the same mom anymore. Story 55. Chronic pain of any kind alters brain chemistry and impacts the quality of life, diminishing the will to live. Story 56. Oh boy, I have one. Being too pregnant to terminate by complete accident in a conservative state, while actively being stalked, extorted, blackmailed, and drained financially. Any actions perceived as defiance or actively pursuing justice against the individuals perpetuating your stalking, extortion, and blackmail will result in threats to harm your pets. My dog of 12 years passed suddenly last year. This situation also threatens the life and social standing of your male-presenting trans birth mother, due to being ousted for having been born female, while you are labeled a prostitute with proof. This proof stems from a consensual and beneficial relationship with a man nearly twice your age, who grew up in extreme poverty but is now exceedingly wealthy and generously supports you because you have not been able to find stability through traditional employment and struggle with severe post-traumatic stress-related depressive episodes. He regularly asks if you need help, even though you live across the country and rarely see him. We have hour-long phone conversations every few weeks, which have devolved into both of us complaining about the current state of humanity. Now videos of you in compromising states of undress, as well as you being drugged and kicked off different surfaces, bed, sofa, were illegally filmed without your knowledge using a pinhole camera and then uploaded to the internet. These videos are easily accessible through various inappropriate websites. You have reported the multiple break-ins, invasions of privacy, drained accounts, and instances of sexual assault to law enforcement, but they neither believe you nor care to do anything beyond documenting incidents. You might wake up to a random beating with a metal broom handle, which causes immediate bruising and property damage. This sufficiently gets one of your perpetrators arrested for battery, but because he is an affluent first-time offender, he is out on bail shortly after booking and free to continue harassing you through malware you cannot remove from your cell phone. This is the 6th phone you have purchased in the last year, and you are too financially drained to procure another immediately, so you just exist wondering when, if ever, you will be taken seriously. The only reason you have not given up is that you found a little dog who is terrified of everything and likes to sleep inside your shirt. Story 57. If heaven were real and the old Catholic belief were true, every time you masturbate, a bell goes off in heaven, letting your deceased loved ones know you are being inappropriate. Who would want to go to a heaven where your family constantly has to watch you engage in such behavior? Story 58. Having your skin removed slowly with dirty nails for hours every day while in captivity, allowing you to heal before it happens all over again until you die of old age. Story 59. A tooth infection or cavity on your back molars, right above the large nerve in your jaw, can cause severe pain. I wouldn't wish that discomfort on even my worst enemy. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.